You cannot pass! The fire will not avail you! Flame of Mondoon! You shall not pass! Fly, fools! Hello, 'tis I, Oz, the great and powerful. I've been waiting for so long to do another review, and I've been waiting for almost a century. Anyway, I need to get myself ready. Now, let's see if I can remember this. Kato kali kabateko. Oh, that's better. Whew. I've been waiting for so long, I've been growing a beard lately. Now, let's see. Let's see, what time is it? About time to do another magical review. Now, what was that now what exactly is that intro now that multi-voice reviewer told me about? Oh yeah. I am the multi-voice reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. But of course, my other intro, behold the wizard, beware his powers, unspeakable powers. Well, since I am Oz, the great and powerful, and since this is a magical review, I'm going to review a certain fantasy made way back in the 80s. Made all the way back in 1988. And believe it or not, this one was made by George Lucas himself. That's right, Star Wars and Indiana Jones creator himself, George Lucas, made this. Willow. Now, I gotta say, for a movie about a farmer who wants to become a great sorcerer, he seems to be my kind. He seems to be like one. He seems to be my kind of guy. Lord knows how many times I wanted to be a powerful wizard, although I became a Wizard of Oz. But, eh. Now, in this story here, this was created by George Lucas and directed by Ron Howard. That's right. Opie himself, from Andy Griffith, directed this movie. Now, after George Lucas was done doing the Return of the Jedi, he met this actor who plays Widow, Warwick Davis. Now, some of you people might know him as the Leprechaun from those really silly Leprechaun movies. Of course, reviewed by Patrick O'Lucky all the way from Ireland. But after him playing an Ewok, and also played in other Ewok movies, yeah, I remember there were 2 Ewok movies they made after Return of the Jedi. George Lucas wanted to create another fantasy story, and he hired Warwick Davis to play the character Willow. Now, how the story goes, there is this girl who is born, and she is born to battle against the forces of evil and be powerful enough to defeat this evil queen who goes by the name of Bavmornda. And that's Bavmornda right there. Now, a little known fact, one thing I know about the actress who plays Bavmornda, Jean Marsh. Now, one thing I knew, a little Doctor Who thing, back in 1955, she was married to Doctor Who himself, Jon Pertwee. They were together until 1960 when they both got a divorce. But one thing I gotta say about Jon Pertwee, He must have reversed the polarity of her neutron flow. But, Joan Marsh, throughout her history, I mean, some people might remember her playing Mumby in Return to Oz. And also, she was in Upstairs, Downstairs series that is still going on even today. And is still alive and kicking and acting. Although sometimes she kind of makes me think of Michelle Gomez. I mean, at first I thought she looks exactly like her. I almost thought that she might be related to her, but as I looked her up, Jean was born in London, England. She was born in London, while Michelle Gomez, she's from Scotland. But anyway, throughout the entire story, Bavmornda is this evil, powerful sorceress queen who wants to get rid of, who's trying to destroy the baby, Princess Elora Danan. And the only way she can do that is she's going to use her spell to take her into the nether realm so she will be destroyed completely. And the mother of Elora Danan, she asked for a reluctant nursemaid to save her because they're going to kill her. So reluctantly, the nursemaid saved her life and started taking care of her until two of her group of Bavmornda's hounds, who looks like giant rats, start attacking her and toss Elora Danan into the river so she can float away, and therefore found a place called the Nelwyns, where they're dwarfs, and of course you see Willow there. Willow himself. Him and his two kids, Ranan and Mitch. And of course, his wife, Kaya. Now, he is, the person, there is one character who gives, Widow a hard time, is this, landlord who goes by the name of, Burgocut. Some name. Burgocut. Sounds like something you want to order at McDonald's. Can I have a burger? Well cut. A burger cut? A burger cut? Yeah. Anyway, it turns out that they try to keep her secret, trying to keep the baby secret so nobody won't even know about the baby. Until two of Bavmornda's rat hounds start attacking their town. Anyway, Widow decided that they cannot keep the baby. They have to meet their Nelwyn wizard, who goes by the name of the High Nelwyn. And of course, the High Nelwyn sees that this child is special, and all they have to do is trying to get her into the land of the Daikinis. Now, Daikinis are normal height people, like us. I mean, we're normal height folks. Now, the High Nelwyn had Willow and his friend Migosh, and of course, the High Nelwyn forces Burgocut to be their leader, and of course, ordered a couple of their Nelwyn warriors to join the quest. And then they came across one Daikini, is of course Val Kilmar playing Madmartigan. Now, Madmartigan, his character, he's sort of a rebel, sort of like the Han Solo in the story. He has a problem with authority. He only depends on himself and wants to find things that are interesting to him. And of course, he wouldn't stop flirting with the ladies. And of course, Burgocut and the rest of the Nelwyns decided to leave, but Willow decided to stay and trying to find a most decent Daikini to take care of the child. And a group of Daikini warriors showed up, and of course there was this knight who goes by the name of Eric. That's this guy right here. Now, he used to be friends with Madmartigan, but he knows that he's more of a traitor, so he disrespects him. And they told Eric to take care of the child, and he said, "We're in the battles, little one. Find a woman to take care of her." But they decided to free Madmartigan and let Madmartigan take care of the child. So now Willow and Migosh decided to go home. And then all of a sudden, the biggest shocker of all, a big owl was carrying the baby. And of course, it's guided by a bunch of brownies. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bunch of brownies are these little tiny elves who lives out in the woods. And what the brownies did to Willow and Migosh, they knocked them out and put them into their tent area until the high elf, not elf, but the high fairy, the queen of the fairies, showed up and told Willow that Elora Danan, the little child, chose Willow to be her guardian. But Willow is like, "I'm a short guy. I'm a Nailwyn. How can I battle against these things? You don't really need me." But the queen of the fairies says this: Elora Danan must survive because Bavmornda's curse is spreading like an evil plague unless she is stopped. If Bavmornda kills Elora Danan, then her forces of darkness will march all over the world and enslave and kill anybody, his friends, his family, everyone. So Willow decided to take the chance, and of course the queen of the fairies gave him this wand that is pretty powerful, and two of the brownies decided to stick with him to help him along their journey. And then all of a sudden, they found Madmartigan trying to disguise himself as a woman, and therefore he meets Sasha. She is Bavmornda's daughter. Now, a little known fact. Madmartigan and Sasha, played by Val Kilmar, and Joanne Worley. Now, believe it or not, during this movie, Val Kilmar and Joanne Worley, they started falling in love for each other behind the scenes of the movie. And then after the movie was finished and it was showing up on theaters, they both got married in 1988, around the same year. Now, I always love a good love story going on in Hollywood. But anyway, Val Kilmar and Joanne Worley, they both had been married and had 2 kids in 1988 until they both got separated and had a divorce in 1996. That's Hollywood for you. Celebrity romance never lasts long, especially if 2 of them are actors. Hey. Anyway, throughout the entire story, the brownies slung this bag called the Dust of Broken Hearts, hits Madmartigan right in the face. So now that's when he starts falling in love with Saoirse, Joanne's character. So now he starts going head over heels over Saoirse, and Saoirse is going like, "The heck's wrong with you?" at the moment. And then throughout the entire movie, she starts seeing something very attractive about him. Imagine that. And of course, there was one deleted scene in the movie that I have to mention. One time, Willow was supposed to see a most powerful sorceress who is a good woman. Her name is Thin Rizal. But sadly, one of Bavmornda's henchmen transformed transform Roselle into a muskrat. So Willow tries to use his spell to turn her back to normal, but instead turns into a raven. And he tries again, and she turns into a goat. And they discovered that the only way they can save the baby is they need to take her to a castle called Terrace Lean. And as they showed up, everybody looks like they were all trapped in ice or something. Until Madmartigan discovered that the castle, Terrace Lean, was overrun by trolls. And Willow hate trolls. And they look like human monkeys. And of course, Roselle told Willow to use one of the wands against one of the trolls. He did one of his spells, but it kinda turned the troll into a two-headed dragon monster. A little behind the scenes there, they named the two-headed monster after Siskel and Ebert. You know, the critics. Thumbs up, thumbs down, Siskel and Ebert. Because there were a lot of critics back in the 80s who always gave fantasy movies hard times in the 80s. That's why most of those fantasy movies are cult classics now. But I'm still hoping they should have done a sequel to Labyrinth. Or continue on with the sequel with the Oz movies. I mean, they did Return to Oz, and I still hope they should have done more. I mean, there's like over 14 Oz books, and none of them haven't had the cojones to do sequels out of those books. Movie adaptations of these sequels. Seriously. Of course, I heard that there are a couple of CGI ones, but I don't even know they're more based from the book or made up. But anyway, Madmartigan, Sarsha. Oh yeah, and even there is this skull-faced warrior who goes by the name of General Kale, who is also named after one of the critics as well, movie critics. General Kale, he discovered that Sarsha had turned against her mother, so now she got really peed off and say, "Prepare for the ritual!" Anyway, Madmartigan, Sasha, Eric, and the group of armies, they decided to go in front of the castle to confront them. But Bavmornda, she said, "This is not an army. You are pigs!" And then turn them all into pigs. But Roselle told Willow to be in her tent because she knows something bad's going to happen. And of course, Roselle tells Willow to do his spell to turn her to normal. And at first it turned her into an ostrich, and then a peacock, and then a tortoise, and then a tiger, and then finally turned to normal. But sadly turned her into an old lady. And as Roselle finally got into her human form, she said, "Willow, we got work to do. Give me the wand. We're going to do the opposite of her sorcery. Let him in now." And turn all those pigs back to normal. Oh, there was also a deleted scene in this movie. When Willow was trying to find Roselle, there was a bald-headed boy who told him, "Don't cross the river." And Willow got onto the boat and tried to cross it, and then all of a sudden, there was a huge, giant fish with sharp teeth trying to attack Willow until he finally figured out that fish was the boy. He's a shapeshifter. But sadly, that was deleted. But anyway, back in the story, everybody decided to cower away because she's too powerful. She can transform them again. And of course, Roselle says, if the baby dies, all hope for the future is lost. She decided to stay, and so does Willow. And Willow had a plan on how to attack them. So, they stick with his plan. And after General Kayla ordered his men to kill them, Bavmornda's men start showing up, and when Willow and Roselle stay calm, Willow quickly hit the drum, and they all came out of the ground to attack him. Not bad. And then during the battle, Val Kilmar, Madmartigan, he saw Eric getting killed by General Kayla. So as he checked on Eric says this, "Win this war for me." And then he died. So now it's up to Madmartigan to go one-on-one with General Kayla. Well, at the same time, Sasha, Roselle, and Widow went to the lair where Bavmornda is at. And Bavmornda was about ready to kill her daughter Sorcia, but Roselle stopped her. And now they kept doing a little bit of a sorceress duel, going, "No, no, no! No!" But sadly, Bavmornda knocked Roselle out. And then Willow shows up. Now, Willow, even though he's a farmer and not really a sorcerer, he knows a couple of magician's tricks. He said, "I'm a very powerful sorcerer," and Bavmornda laughed at him. So he tossed one of the acorns he had. Anything he throws at them turns to stone. He has these magical acorns. Anything he throws at turns to stone. So he tossed the acorn right at the Bavmornda. She catches it, and then her wrist started to turn into stone until she turned it back to normal. And then he did a little trick. He said, "You stupid hag! With my powers, I can turn her." And of course, Bavmornda says, "Haha, you're no sorcerer." And then he said, "Into a realm where evil will not touch her." And he said, "Impossible, no such place." And then he was doing that, and then he made her disappear. And Bavmornda was really peed off. She was about ready to attack Widow, but the lightning struck the wand she had in her hand, and she went into the nether realm. Roselle woke up, snapped out of her knockout, and of course, Madmartigan showed up. He's lost the battle, but he did help Sasha up. And as Roselle says, "Willow, where's the baby?" And Willow picked up the little bundle and says, "It was my old-fashioned magician's trick." And then Roselle gave Willow a magical book that would teach him to do more spells and such. So he pretty much working his way up to be a greatest sorcerer. And he finally went back home. And of course, the landlord, Burgercut, is going like, "Oh, I can't believe he's here and he made it." And of course, he did a little trick. He showed the high nail in his peach, and when he tossed it up, it turned into a bird, and the bird crapped right on Burglecut's face. And when he found his wife and kids, they both hugged. And that was the end of Willow right here. And I have to say, it was a good movie. Some of you should watch this movie. And I know I'm doing some spoilers, but sorry, folks, but hey, if I talk about it, at least I'm not showing it. One thing I do have a problem with, since Willow was made by George Lucas, I saw this movie, Fanboys. And I know I got this from Blockbuster before it went out of business. But one problem I do have about this movie, you see, these guys, they showed up in George Lucas's house, and this one nerdy kid here, he found Widow's wand and book, and he says, "Hey, it's that magical spell from Willow. You know, Willow?" And the other kid was like, "Who cares about Willow?" Who cares about Willow? "Man, I can do a spell on your nads, man, if you say something like that." Anyway, now there was some merchandise that happened. When Willow came out, they made a really interesting board game called Willow the Game. In the game, you can play Willow, who's trying to protect Elora Danan, or you can play one of Bavmornda's minions, who's trying to get Elora Danan. And then there was a PC game they made, right here. But it was more like a text game, but with a couple of things to do, but it was kind of clunky. The better games they made was, there was a 16-bit beat-em-up game, an arcade game of Willow, which I wish I have so I can play it. You can play either Widow or Madmartigan battling against the hordes of evil bad guys in order to save Elora Danan. But there was another Widow game they made called Willow for the Nintendo 60. Actually the original Nintendo itself. And this game plays just like Legends of Zelda. So for those of you who are Legend of Zelda fans, you can check this game out if you look it up online. And of course, as always, Marvel did a comic book adaptation. And believe it or not, a lot of people had ideas of doing sequels of Willow. So George Lucas teams up with Chris Claremont, who made series of books here. Besides the novelization of Willow, in 1994 they made this one called Shadow Moon, and then in 1996, Shadow Dawn, and then the 2000 Shadow Star. These are series of books, and what they're all about is that Willow went back as a farmer, but he still has magical powers and such. But he visits Elora Danan on her birthday, and during Elora Danan's adventures, she starts growing up and starts slaying dragons. Why haven't they made a sequel of these movies based on these books? Dang it! I mean, come on! Come on, Hollywood, you're killing me here! This is why I'm starting to hate Hollywood more and more. I mean, would it be really cool to see the sequel of Willow and also see the actress who plays Elora all grown up in this movie and seeing Warwick Davis back as Willow again? I mean, heck, I would spend all my money to see those movies. Heck, even in 2005, the year I graduated, Val Kilmar and Warwick Davis was announcing that they're going to make a sequel, but it didn't catch on. What the heck, Hollywood? Come on! Anyway, well, this is my review of Willow of today. Those of you who likes my review, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe. And, oh yeah. As for me, I heard that Multi-Voice Reviewer is planning to write a crossover of Doctor Who called The Doctor of Oz, as you can see on the thing here. That's right, Multi-Voice Reviewer, he's going to do a crossover of The Wizard of Oz, and he's going to take more from the book than from the movie, the original book itself. And Multi-Voice Reviewer is not going to play the Doctor this time. This time he's going to play me, the Wizard of Oz. And who's going to be playing the Doctor is going to be one of his friends. Now, I don't know his name, but people call him the Ginger Doctor, because he has red hair. And I hope he gets done, because this book is like 3 hours long, and it's going to be a 3-parter. So, Multi-Voice Reviewer did part 1, and now he's working on part 2. So stay tuned, folks. So, this is, well, sort of the Multi-Voice Reviewer, but I'm the Wizard of Oz, telling to you all, See you soon.